So for those just joining in, we're having Gabe, CEO Sweets Kendamas, on here right now. Josh Grove, we just had him for 45 minutes. Sweets Kendamas Pro, Mindfulness Play, and DJ, the main person for the face of Nouns for the collaboration and partnership between NAKO and Nouns this year. And DJ, you work for Nouns, right?
Sort of. Nobody really works for Nouns. It's kind of a kind of a weird question. People do projects for Nouns, and I participate in Nouns in various sorts of ways and various parts of the Nouniverse, as we call it. But yeah, it's not really a company, so there's not really any employees. But yeah, I have worked with Nouns for a little over 2 years.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so that's DJ, and yeah, he's, as you guys can tell, obviously involved in Nouns, and he's definitely a huge help between the partnership between Nouns and NAKO. For this stream, you guys had a awesome live stream last week that covered the kind of the backstory between how the collaboration between Nouns and NAKO came to happen. For this stream, I think I want the goal to just be answering just questions and providing as much clarity as possible. So I left what I took away from the collaboration, the story of collaboration, into the description, so people who coming in can just get context. If you're watching this afterwards, it's going to be fully edited and be fully accurate, as they started before we started talking about this. It's a little different, so after you're watching after, it'll be fully good. I'm gonna start this off with some questions about that I have. But if you're watching the chat right now, guys, please leave any question you want, and we will bring it up on the screen. And DJ, Gabe, or Josh, or all three can answer your questions. So this is really for you guys to gain as much clarity as possible. But to start it off, this is pretty much just a basic question, but I think it's good to start with. Just for those unfamiliar, DJ, can you explain what Nouns is and what it means to be an open-sourced brand?
Yeah, so Nouns is a DAO. It stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's sort of a misnomer at this point. It really just kind of means any organization that coordinates using blockchain-based tools. Every DAO is different, so every DAO operates differently. Some are more centralized than others. Some have core teams. Some, like Nouns, don't have any core team. There's no hierarchy. It's like a completely flat organization. And so Nouns is sort of basically they have a sale every day for a membership, if you want to think about it like that. And that's how people get involved in the DAO. That's how you get a vote. But really, anyone can participate. It's that the goal is to be a completely decentralized brand, meaning all the art that's produced and created as part of the project is CC0. So a lot of people might be familiar with different copyright licenses. CC0 means that there is no copyright license. All the artwork is in the public domain. Anyone can feel free to use it for whatever they'd like. So if you want to build a business on top of it, you want to use that art to create other art, and monetize it, you are free to do that. There's no rights reserved by anybody. And so the goal is to create all of these sort of offshoots of Nouns. If you ask anybody what Nouns is that's involved in Nouns, you'll probably get a slightly different answer, because to everybody it's sort of something different, because everybody interprets it in their own way. And that's sort of why it's really cool, is that because it's a flat hierarchy and everyone interprets it in their own way, people do things in their own way. And that's sort of what it wants to enable, is that individuality of whatever your skills are, whatever it is you want to do, there's some place for you to do it within Nouns, whether that's building apps or different types of software, whether it's hardware. So people have created Nouns LED keychains or mini figures, so toys, kendamas, all sorts of things. It's really just about supporting subcultures and kind of letting people express their creativity in a way that's unique to them and kind of unencumbered by traditional avenues for those sorts of things, or just chasing a dollar, that kind of thing. So
nice. Awesome. Yeah, I think the concept of that is pretty. It's hard to get used to, because it's hard to wrap the head around. Okay, Nouns' purpose or main function is giving back. It's definitely in that sense. So thank you so much for clearing that up.
Yeah.
And then the second question that I want to add on to that is something that I think a lot of developers are very curious. Okay, this is crazy, but what's the catch? What does Nouns hope to gain by supporting the Kendama community in this way?
Yeah, so I mean, this is an age-old question, and that's kind of everybody's question when they get involved in nouns, whatever their exposure is like, why? Like, why is nouns doing this? What do they get out of it? Like, nouns' core like ethos is supporting public goods and kind of proliferating a positive sum mindset. So like that, everything we do like has effects on each other, and so like traditionally, it's sort of people playing zero-sum games where for every winner there's a loser. And nouns is kind of trying to change that ethos of like, we can do things like and collaborate with each other and all build each other up instead of trying to like scramble to the top and like, like climb over your friends and peers, just trying to, build something or create something. And so what nouns gets out of that is out of any project that nouns funds really is they want to leave a positive impact on the world by funding things that are like affecting, groups of people, not just like, lining someone's pocket. Like they want to, provide things like they built a school in Africa. There's been various different types of charity work that they've done. Big donation to UNICEF, free prescription glasses for kids through various charities. So there's all sorts of things that they have funded. And really the end goal is to proliferate the meme, if you will, which is the NAKOs, sort of like their logo. And proliferating the meme is kind of synonymous with proliferating the mindset of like, hey, like crypto and NFTs aren't all bad, and we can use them to actually do good things in the world rather than like what people kind of have that, negative taste in their mouth because of, things in the past, which is a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, let's kind of sum it up.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And actually, that brings me up another question, another thought of mine that all players might be having. So yeah, exactly as you said, some people have, negative associations with crypto NFTs, and a lot of players I think associate NFTs and with scams. I've talked to a couple of people about what their thoughts are on this whole thing, and they're like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to be really cautious of whatever's going on in NAKO. And I've only talked to a couple of players who've said that, but is there anything you'd like to say to players who are worried about NOUNS' involvement due to this stuff, due to hearing negative stuff about crypto or having bad experiences themselves in the past? Is there anything particular you want to say about that?
Yeah, for sure. So in general, I think a big part of that perception comes from just sort of, it's a new technology. Everyone who's using it is learning how to use it. And so like especially when something like you are controlling your assets, like yourself, like one simple mistake can lead to, losing all your money. Like, and maybe you buy the wrong thing, or maybe you send, money to a wallet address and you type one number wrong and now your money's gone forever. Like, so in the past, it's been tough because there haven't really been tools to like make things more secure and like, and really to educate people on what they should be buying, why they should be buying it. In the past, it's been a lot of speculation, a lot of like, oh, I'm going to buy this picture because I think it's going to go up. Like, and that kind of like FOMO and that like, that leads to a lot of scams because people are doing things that they might not normally do because of this new technology. Like, you're not going to go out and spend that kind of money on like art at the store, like, are you? But like, it's a human thing. Like, people are going to do bad things no matter what the medium is. Like, people scam your grandma over the phone. Like, people scam people every day on the internet without using crypto, using PayPal and whatever. People scam people on Instagram. So like, it's just a human thing that whenever there's going to be some sort of transaction, that there's a potential for you to get scammed in some way. And so the big thing like that we really wanted to focus on to kind of like, alleviate that concern here is like, we're not selling anything. We're not trying to get any like, there's no transactions with anything nouns related. Like, the only thing we're doing is we are providing, prizes. We're providing funds for various things. Like, there's no point at all throughout the whole weekend that we'll be like asking anyone to send us anything. Like, and that was kind of, the main thing we wanted to really focus on is like, there is no potential for you to get scammed because there's no like there's no back and forth. It's just a one-way thing kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think going for after this event, and obviously when you guys confirm what you just said that it's just a one-way thing, I think that proof will be the strongest indicator. Like, okay, people will be like, okay, actually this might be something else other than my experiences. It was just, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing the impact in real time of what NOUNS and of NAKO in the event. But then there's also going to be people who are saying, oh, with the value of, like, let's say like the winners, how do we know if the value won't just go down in the next 24 hours? Like, how does NOUNS ensure that the prize pool and other event expenses won't lose value?
Yeah, so great question. And that's, in the past, there wasn't really a good way to do that. Now there's what's called stable coins. They're US dollar pegged stable coins, so they don't fluctuate in value. So it's a token on the blockchain that's called USDC. And it's backed by a company called Circle, who cooperates with Coinbase, which is the largest regulated crypto exchange in the US. And Coinbase is FDIC insured. The token does not fluctuate in value. So we're going to have all the money is going to be in USDC. We're not going to be giving anyone Ethereum or any other tokens that are, changing price constantly. Like whatever we send them in USDC tokens, we send 1,000 USDC, they'll be able to withdraw 1,000 USDC to their bank account. And in the past too, it wasn't quite as easy to get money from the blockchain to your bank account, but now you can do it through PayPal. You can do it through Coinbase. Like there's various methods that you can off ramp money to your bank account. And it's just as easy as getting money from Venmo to your bank account. It's basically, if you don't think about it as a token, it's almost the exact same experience.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. That's awesome. It just depends. I mean, one of the main things that people were bringing up were, okay, because there's now Japanese players coming to this event. There's a way more Japanese players, which is great. One of the main concerns of people over there were like, how does a Japanese player get this money into their bank account? Is it just pretty much the same?
Yeah. So there's they probably will have to use a different exchange, and I'll be doing some research and making sure that we're prepared to walk them through these processes. Like we're definitely not going to leave anyone hanging out on their own. Like we'll be there to help. Especially like using wallets and stuff is a new experience for a lot of people. And so that's a big part of this is just like educating, and we're not trying to force anything down anyone's throat. Like everything's going to be opt-in. If you want to learn, like we're here to help, but we're not going to be like trying to teach everyone all at once and get everyone to create a wallet. Like we want people who are interested to have the opportunity to. If you're not interested, like that's okay, And yeah, so we'll have all the information ready and available, and figure all those things out. So that way they don't have to like think about it as much, and we can just help them do it.
Okay, sweet. So they're gonna have the recipients will definitely have support available after the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, PayPal has that feature, right? DJ, there's a way of just doing it through PayPal.
Yeah, and so there's various stable coins without getting too deep into the weeds, but PayPal does have their own stable coin on the blockchain. So like USDC is one of the older ones. PayPal has PYUSD, which is PayPal's dollar. It's basically just a digital dollar. Like it's just a representation of a dollar on the blockchain. And all of those tokens are backed by PayPal. They hold $1 for every PayPal US dollar that's on the blockchain. So it's not like it's just a imaginary token that they say is worth $1. Like there's $1 in a bank account somewhere that represents that token.
But I think for most people, like until they get the actual dollars into their bank account, they'll, anyone that's skeptical up until the point where the dollars go from USDC or PYUSD or whatever into their Wells Fargo account or their credit union account or their Japanese bank account or whatever, like that's the moment where they'll be like, oh, like that wasn't as hard as I thought. And this is real money.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, with all the Japanese players coming, there's guaranteed going to be them up on the podium. So yeah, that'll be reassuring for without a doubt. So I'll be reassuring to people listening for them too. I have another quick question from the community. If Ethereum loses its value significantly, does NOUNS cease to exist?
Interesting question. I would say that as long as NOUNS holds Ethereum, NOUNS can exist without holding anything. Like they could spend all the money every day. Say they get $100 a day from the auction. they could spend $100 a day and like maintain a zero balance forever, if that makes sense. Like that's been something that's been talked about. It's sort of a far out question that hasn't really been spent too much time on, because Nouns currently has around, I think like 3,900 Ether in their treasury. So it's maybe like $12 million or something like that. And so it's not like going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
But even if the treasury goes to zero, like there's still going to be a community of people online who are going to use that art and create things with it. And then like the goal is that people can use this art and this community to build businesses out of and create artwork and, you know, in perpetuity, and not like necessarily be relying on the treasury all the time. Like the goal is not to have people who are reliant on the treasury. The goal is to help like raise up projects and subcultures and get them, you know, to a place where they can become sustainable on their own if they're struggling with, you know, traditional things.
Right.
That's a great question.
But if Ether went to zero, then the treasury would be zero.
If Ether goes to zero, I mean, there's a lot bigger problems in the world probably,
sure.
but but yeah, no, it is a great question.
Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, and the next one for you I have is, well, as yourself, I also did listen to the live stream from last week, and you being an advocate, someone who's very interested in kendama, who's been playing for a couple of years now, and also competing in the intermediate division, which is really, really cool. This being the first time that you work with Sweets for NAKO, and going forward, you know, when this goes well, have you guys thought about or have any more visions between future collaborations, or is that even on the table right now?
It's definitely something we've been talking about. I mean, I don't know how much we want to divulge just yet. We're still, you know, brainstorming, figuring out exactly the direction we want to go, but we have lots of ideas. And like the beauty of it is that what we are trying to create is like a place where any community member can come in just with ideas and like participate and help contribute to, you know, the direction that we're going. And so without going, you know, too deep into the weeds, like we did launch a kendama DAO that's basically like Nouns, but focused on kendama. And there's been other, like, there's a lot of different DAOs. We call them Nounish DAOs because they are like Nouns, but they're, you know, all different in their own ways. And so really the idea is that we have a community owned treasury where right now we have maybe, you know, around $3,000, and anyone who wants to can come and propose an idea and participate, and, you know, maybe get a few $100s to sponsor their local jam, or they want to do a competition in their community that's like, you know, just a small meetup at the park or something, like, you know. So the idea is to be able to enable people to do things that they may not have been able to do without coordinating, you know, using the tools that we're trying to build.
So you're pretty much saying that this isn't just a limited thing for just Sweets, but actually you're giving the opportunity so that anybody can come to you, pitch an idea, and if well received, get funding.
Well, and not
Exactly.
just well received by, you know, a small group of people. It's
Right.
like the bigger the community is, then all those people would be able to vote on the ideas. And it's essentially like what Nouns has done is they're building infrastructure, right? So like the way that I think about all this, for anyone that's really confused about the words crypto and Web3 and NFTs, these are sort of trigger words that inspire some sort of emotion from people, usually from a lack of understanding, or not maybe a lack of understanding, but maybe some crappy experience that they've had in the past. And like the way that I think about all this stuff is, it's kind of like when computers were the size of houses. Like everybody was like, okay, like why would this ever be useful for me? And or like when the internet started, there was tons of internet scams. There was tons of people, like if there's a way to scam people, scammers are going to show up and they're going to figure out how to scam people. But then throughout time, you figure out how to use these new tools that exist in ways that are actually productive for everyday people. And so like when DJ first contacted me, I have never purchased an NFT. I don't have any interest in NFTs, but I do understand like NFT as a certain technology that it comes with its own toolbox of ways that you can use it, and you can use it in crappy ways or you can use it in good ways. And so like my first question was like, why would Nouns want anything to do with anything that we're doing? And so mission number one became like, okay, like how do we really like introduce kendama in a very relatable, positive way into this community of people so that they understand what they would be in, like what they would be getting involved with, or what they would be getting, like why would they support kendama? Because they kind of met some people with kendamas that like gave them a really cool positive experience. And we got to thank Maroka and Josh for that, and DJ for that, of course. But then like when you peel back the layers of it, like these things are just different technologies that like can be used in different ways. And it's up to the people that are like experiencing the technology to be like, oh, well, if we use it in this way, then this can turn out to be a really positive thing. And I think that's a beautiful thing that as I came to understand nouns more, it's like, number one, they really don't expect anything back in return. If they find something cool and their community decides to support it, step one. Really all they want to see is that like their noggles were a part of it in some way. So when you come to NAKO and see these noggles, like that's why they're there. Because to me, like from a macro perspective, outside of Japan, we have never had an influx of money of any sizable amount from anything that was not a kendama company to an event ever. Like Gloken in the World Cup, and like the fact that they're supported by the mayor and the government and everything, like kendama has really like, and kendama events have really struggled in the past because like we just haven't had what I team outside kendama money. And of course, like now we have a source of money coming from somewhere that everybody's like, oh, this is shady. This is linked to something shady. And so we kind of knew that was going to happen. So like our approach to this was like, DJ, like if we can somehow have nouns support NAKO in a big way, then we're already bringing the reward to the community before, so that like the reward is already seen. And then like it becomes easier to like have the conversations about why is this reward here versus like anything other than that, right? Like our approach was like, yo, let's really, if nouns can make a huge impact on a kendama event, then the conversations become possible to be positive versus like everything Web3 crypto and NFT related is a scam. I don't want to talk about it. Anybody that's into that stuff is evil and they're trying to scam me. And like, we wanted to make that conversation sort of switch directions by just bringing the positive first. And like, for me, like when I talk to my friends about crypto or Web3 or anything related, their brains kind of shut off immediately. And I'm okay with that. I'm not there to like shove anything down anyone's throat, but I do say, remember when computers were the size of houses? Nobody believed that those were eventually going to be something that you can't go 2 seconds without panicking and figuring out like how your day is going to be impacted because you lost it for a day. Like nobody saw that coming when computers were the size of houses, you know? So like, you have to kind of take these trigger words, Web3, NFTs, crypto, with a grain of salt, because it's the technology underneath it that's actually interesting.
And it's such an important point because, like, even using the internet as an example, like you used to have to only interact with the internet on a command line, and like now, I bet no one could even name one protocol that powers the internet except for maybe HTTP. Like, and so like the whole like thing is that it's so early. Those types of like user experiences haven't been abstracted out to where it's like usable without thinking about what it is you're using. But yeah, if you don't even think about like the whole what's behind it, the crypto NFT stuff, like it's a community that has funds that wants to support cool stuff. Like the NFT part is sort of just a side thing that happened to be part of like what enabled this to be possible in a like trustless, like decentralized way where like no one person has all the money and can just be like, oh, sorry guys, I just, disappeared. I'm not responding. And all the money is now in an offshore bank account. Like the money cannot be moved by any one person. It can only be moved by vote, which requires, a lot of people to participate in.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have skepticism, but I like to have open skepticism. So it's like be skeptical and like ask your questions.
Yeah.
But, like keep an open mind to like keep asking questions and then see how things start working, because it took me a while to like figure out the inner workings of like what a DAO is, how it works, like what's the point.
Dude, me and Josh had to ask 100 questions to DJ. I was so surprised
Everybody
that DJ
does.
didn't. I was so surprised that DJ just didn't be like, "Yo, like guys, like
Well, and
This is
DJ's
too
been
much.
super patient, you know, and it's been a blessing to have him. I really encourage you to come talk to us. We'll be together in the main room at NAKO. And, you know, like what really did kind of help me see it too is like, okay, in the end, like if we had this thing, like a DAO specifically for kendama, like what would that look like? Where literally it's not branded, it's not like associated to any one company. It's literally the community's involvement that decides ideas. What would that look like? How could that work? What ideas would get funded? What, you know, and it got my brain kind of pumping like like we can do some really cool things. Like the people in the community that want to like fund their jams or get kendamas sent to a different country that they're traveling to do like an ambassador program for, like, or they're working on a university competition. Like this is a place basically for like ideas to be funded by like a grant, and we're doing a mini little dose of that at NAKO to 3 people to receive like small grants for, I think it was $500 grant and then 2 $250 grants. And you don't have to do it as crazy as what you would have to do to like fill out a proposal online. It's just going to be a Google form. It's as simple as filling out your idea, what the description is, like how much money you need, and like what you're going to use the money for. And the biggest thing is like, we give you the money. There's no us like holding you accountable. Like, yo, we need the money back. You didn't do that. That's on you. And like, that's what the DAO is all about. It's honor, it's trust, and it's respect that you're proposing to do this with this funds. Take some pictures, take some videos, show the world that you just did this. Or like, you might not get funded for your ideas in the future if you just take the money and run. Like, good for you. You scored a little bag, whatever. But like, you know, that's not what the community treasury is about. It's about funding ideas, about like holding that honor and bringing these ideas to life. And that's just, I think, in a nutshell, like your question, like what's moving forward, what's next, what's after NAKO. It's like trying to build this idea and grow this idea with the community, you know?
But I think
and that was the goal of supporting all the different brands, players from all over the world. You know, this was not supposed to be like, hey, we're just supporting Sweets. This was supposed to be a signal to the entire global community, like, hey, like we're here, and like we want to work with everyone and figure out ways that we can like all work together. So,
but we also knew that wasn't going to be possible. Like, you can't have that conversation until like something positive has happened to like change people's minds, or like at least make people become open-minded to an idea through something else happening, you know? And I think that we're in this place now because of a series of those actions of like, okay, like we got to do this before we do this, before we do this, before we do this. And now we're here. And this is like, to your point, Nick, like one more step in like the path of like creating an environment in kendama that supersedes like brand loyalty, which has always been something that like really, really bothers me. Is that like, you know, the kendama community is made up of a bunch of brands, and people have loyalty to different brands, and they sort of like, you know, like it feels like one big brand war within a very, very small communal group of people. And like, in a weird way, like, you know, years ago when we were teaching in schools and Josh was teaching in schools, and we were like, man, like we should call this Josh guy and see what he wants to do. And he was like, well, I want to run a nonprofit. Like, that could have been funded by something like this that we're talking about, right? But that type of thing didn't exist. So like, we had to figure out how to make that happen and like get that to the point where like now Josh is like unable to be funded by Sweets in the same way that we've always been able to, because like Sweets doesn't have the same amount of you know, money that we've always had to support that. So like, if that's the case, like kendama needs to be sustainable outside of companies, and we need to create jobs outside of companies. But how do we do that if the companies are the only things that are able to like hire people for jobs? You know what I'm saying? Like we need to think a lot bigger. And if we ever want this thing to really grow, we need to sort of strategize outside of just like what we do inside of one company.
Yeah, 100%. Love that. And yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like having the jobs outside of the company's economy, I think that would be such a potent growth driver for kendama itself. And actually, I want to go off this question and go a little further towards just present NAKO. I would love to give you, Gabe, and Josh just time to really flesh out the impact of NOUNS on this event. because NAKO has been, this is the 12th NAKO. Like this is the 12th NAKO. It's massive. What is possible at this NAKO now with the support from Nouns that wasn't possible at the previous NAKOs that you guys have run?
Who wants
You
to
want to start, Josh?
I mean, we can take a little like popcorn. I think, there's so much. It's hard to like pinpoint it down to one thing. I have a list. I mean, we can take turns. We can take a turn.
Let's just start. So number one, I think that we have, I mean, you guys were Sweets players forever, right? Like we have always like struggled to bring players in. And even when we do bring players in, we're bringing in like Sweets sponsored players. And like, how many of those guys take a real chance at being on the podium? Like they compete, they go hard, but like a good kendama event should have the best players in the world there, regardless of like what company they represent. And that's very, very, very difficult. So that is, when we got together as a crew of people trying to like link Nouns and a kendama event together, we asked ourselves the question, like, what are the rewards to the community that would enhance every person's experience? And how do we really like put those rewards on the table? And one of the things like that we all talked about, and then I talked to Tio about, is just like, who could we bring or try to bring in a very short period of time? Because this came together like 3.5 weeks before the event. Like, like how do we actually get this to happen? And who could we get in the building that wouldn't be there normally, that people would be really excited to see? That was like one thing that like we would never have had the power to do that before. Like it sucks to run NAKO. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like running NAKO sucks, dude. Like nobody knows yet. We haven't made the list yet, but that's something that's probably gonna be released this week. Is like, one is like we're bringing in like 7 players, I think. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 Japanese players. There's 1 European player, and we have 1 domestic player that we're still crossing our fingers, hoping people like, like we can't say like when you see them there.
I mean, the flights are booked. The flights are booked. We just, we just
details.
Spent, low key, like, $10,000 was spent to bring the best players in the world to NAKO. That's something.
But all I'm saying is, hopefully they get on their flights. Hopefully
they're gonna make it.
Goes well.
They're gonna make it.
Hopefully they don't get Austin Donovan. Like hopefully this is something that like goes well. So I don't like to like talk too much about like exactly who to expect, because if something goes wrong, then that stops being like a positive that we brought and ends up being some sort of negative that we created off of
I don't know though.
That doesn't go somewhere.
I think that like I see where you're coming from, but I also think it's like the plane tickets are bought. Like, I've been coordinating with these players to make sure their ESTAs are filled out, to make sure that all their things are figured out. Make sure, I've been coordinating way too much on this stuff, but
100%.
like. And like, I'm talking like early morning, late at night. I'm just like, dude, like I have so many other things to do, but this is sick. This is like monumental for the event. So I think number one is the fact that like the top players, and like we didn't even get all the ones that we wanted because people were unavailable and like they couldn't make it on that short of notice. But the people that are coming are at the top of the game, like they're at the top, and each one of them has a chance of taking it all down, which is sick. Has that ever happened before, other than like, Tio tried to bring out a few people and that was epic. But like, this is one thing that like is huge, and I think, Gabe, if you want to like finish on the thought of that, I want to like, there's a couple other things that makes this a big difference too.
I mean, these, like, we all get inspired by watching really inspirational kendama performances. Like, the better the competition, and not only just the competition, but just like the better the hype, the better the things that happen in the building because the certain people are there. Like, I think anyone that's been to a kendama event can think about like the people that were there where you're like, holy, if that person hadn't have been there, like they changed the whole event. Like, how many events did Bonds change? Like, can you imagine like the Mall of America events if Bonds hadn't have been there? Like, those are the kinds of people that like, when we really got together as a group, we were like, okay, like, how do we really like bring this event to a better level? How does Nouns bring this event to a different level? And so number one was people People. That was number one. That's one thing that's different.
And like two, like another obvious one is just prize money. You know, it's like $10,000 in prize money split up between the top divisions. You know, that's huge. And like NAKO already had a little bit of a prize pool there. So like, I don't know what the full breakdown is with first, second, and third, but it's huge. I think I was looking at the World Cup and in USD, it was like 3,200 or something, like 34. I don't remember the exact, like some 3,000 something was like first place World Cup, right? I don't know how close we're that to like first place prizes, but like this is crazy the amount of money that's being split up between the top divisions. And then on top of that, like the community grants, and then these side events that are these side competitions, there's extra funding going into mini games. Like you could literally win like $50 by winning Unicorn this year. Like, you know, like that's like, it's not all about money, but it's like, oh, like I could like have a chance at like, I could ball out on a dinner tonight and like win Joust, you know, or whatever. Like,
I mean, when you study other sports and you think about like how people are incentivized to travel around, like part of it is not about money, right? Like there's certain people that are just like, I'm going to show up and compete. I don't care what I get at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. The only thing is like, we really want, I think the entire community wants the top players in the game to have like,
to be rewarded for their time and effort.
Enough money to travel to the other events and to like be at all the events that they should be at. Yeah. And like the prize pools in kendama have always been small. Why are the prize pools in kendama small? Do you think it's because the companies running the events are greedy and we keep all the big money bags? Like I'm asking that rhetorically because you guys like maybe some people think that like people running kendama events are getting rich off of kendama events, or even more far-fetched, getting rich off of running a kendama company. Like there's no bags of cash hiding. And so like players need incentives and they need travel budgets. And oftentimes companies can't provide those travel budgets. And maybe the players that win these things are going to take that cash and go buy whatever they need. But maybe some of them that really want to go to like other kendama comps keep a bag to like go to other kendama comps. So like increasing the prize pool is another just like reward of NAKO or Nouns finding kendama interesting enough or creative enough or weird enough or whatever enough to like support this, that like is a big difference this year, is that the prize pools can be bigger. But that's an important thing in kendama. I think like when I researched like how disc golf blew up as a sport, how they really started, they got Whammo to put a car on the line. It's kind of a big deal. Like if you can say like first place wins a car, like tell me who's not going to show up to win a car. You know, like if you think you got a chance to win and there's a big prize on the line, it kind of makes a big difference. You know what else it does? PR. Like people are like, oh shit, like you can like win a car if you go win this weird sports first place event. Like that was good for disc golf in the heyday of disc golf. And I can go into other stories about like other sports and how they built, but like it's hard to get the outside world interested in the sport of kendama. And somehow this dude DJ, because he was a kendama player, hit us up and was like, yo, we like the nonprofit. Like maybe we can do something there. And Nouns became like the biggest funder of what Josh does outside of Sweets Kendamas ever. And then we were like, what else can we do? Oh, maybe we can do a kendama event. So then we built towards this kendama event. And then he got another proposal passed through Nouns to support a kendama event. So like now, like what was our last call, DJ? Like every time I talk to DJ, I'm like, first of all, thank you for being awesome and for hitting us up and for loving kendama and wanting to connect kendama to other things that you love. That's dope. Thanks for like making all this possible. Because when I got my first call from DJ, I didn't think any of this was going to happen. I was like, oh, this is one more super far-fetched random call that I'm taking that's not going to amount to nothing, because I take a lot of those because I'm an eternal optimist about like where kendama can go and what we can do. And this one turned out to be like, whoa, like not only did some of this stuff come to life, but I got to like meet somebody that's really, really awesome and like really executes in a space that knew nothing about kendama. We're changing that. And that space of people is also having a positive impact within kendama. So now what we're hoping is that like through having this positive impact at NAKO, that people in kendama see and become more open-minded about maybe what we can do in the future with this sort of technology. And I'll say one more thing, like as far as like all this weird technology, you don't even need to know that you're using it. Like it's just a piece of technology. And so if you can give people the rewards and you can give people a better experience overall, it doesn't matter if it's in Web3 or Web2. Those are just like weird terms that come with baggage. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, you're good. I know we're almost out of time, but like the last two things I think is different and like just more impactful, like with NOUNS involvement this year, is like there's a budget to support judges and volunteers lunches. Like catering is provided for like people that are volunteering, which is huge because like you're busy. These people are like committing hours to like work and like make this event successful. Like let's be real, like without the volunteers and judges, like NAKO in any event would not be possible. You know, like it's up to them. So it's like the least you can do is feed them, you know, like, and like obviously cover their registration costs. But like, so that's something that I'm super stoked on, just to like know that these people can like go to the like volunteer room and grab like a sandwich or whatever and like be nourished. And then like lastly, I really do believe like this is going to provide an opportunity to build the kendama community. Like there hasn't been an opportunity like this before, like with the kendama DAO and like what could be of that realm, like, and just supporting players and their ideas in general. I think we're really entering a time within kendama where people are like supporting film projects and like multiple people from different teams coming together, like to film within Burl and like wanting to be a part of Burl. Like, you know, like Burl could get funded in a different way, like through the DAO to like do something even sicker. Like, who knows? Like, there's just so many ways that like inspiration can get pumped. And my hope is that more inspiration can just get funneled into the like the pot of the community, so that then we can start churning out some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
So you've got
Yeah.
10K prize money, 10K to fly players out, money for all meals or volunteers each day, plus registration, $1,000 to grants for community proposed projects. I mean, you're supporting the judges, the players, the volunteers, the community. Yeah, this is looking to be an insane event.
And talk about and going off the incentives, Gabe, you touched on like the incentivization. It's not all about money, but I mean, hey, like let's talk about the opportunity here, right? I mean, KWC 2018 gets crowdfunded $100,000. Now the prize just isn't $3,500 USD. Now it's $15,000. Suddenly, people, you know, may back then like, okay, wow, like Kendama World Cup would be awesome to go. Wow, it'd be great to go there, but it's not possible for me. Wait, the prize is $15,000 ears per cup. Suddenly, I can figure it out. Suddenly it's possible. Suddenly, I'm actually putting the effort in. Oh my god, the flights are.
Suddenly, your buy-in is worth the take home.
Yes.
Right. Like a kendama tournament to the top players in the game is similar to a poker game. Like you have expenses that you need to get to the place, stay at the place, etc., which is your buy-in to the game. And if you win the game, if the prize pool is only enough to cover your expenses, then is it worth throwing your you know, then you're literally going for the love of playing the game, which I think is good that we have a game that is worth playing and that like people are willing to do that for. But I think that these are things that we need to change if we want to grow as a community. And I'm not going to go out and say that like, okay, this is going to change things forever. No. But this is a historic moment because like it at least shows that someone in the world outside of a kendama company is willing to like support.
When it was a group of people, you know, not even someone, like NOUNS is no one person. Like that is a community treasury that supported this, so there's many people that see the vision and like the
Sure.
opportunity.
I should have said an entity. I should have said something. I'm just saying, like, from a macro perspective, like, we don't normally have funds come into Kendama from outside of Kendama. It is just not a normal thing, but that is something that we need to change if we're ever going to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, this is, people, this is a new thing to Kendama, and people, of course, anything new, it's like, whoa, like, what is that? But I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. And I'm really looking for, at the end of the day, it's like, for me, it's like, I see this announcement now, and it's like, man, I don't know what's happening. All I do know is that 6 Japanese players are coming, and that makes this event just like 10 times better already, just alone. Honestly, disregard the prize money alone, just 6 players coming up from overseas who are the best players, that literally makes this event like actually 50 times better. So that's what I was just immediately, that was my first reaction. So I'm just really looking forward to this event, guys. It's coming up. I have flights in like week and 2 days, so really excited. DJ, I know we're over at like 6 minutes right now. DJ, are you okay to answer like 2 or 3 more questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much. Nick, just to check, you're all good on your end, right, for questions? Or all right.
Yeah, well, mine are all good. I just took care of them all.
Okay. All right, cool. So I have one here. It's, what are the tax implications of receiving money on chain for the winners? And if there are any, will they be able to get support from Nouns, or will they have to navigate those tax implications on their own?
I wouldn't worry about the tax implications. That's not something that like we're trying to make players worry about. It's just straight through Coinbase or PayPal, and it's not income, it's not prize money, it's not money that's taxable in that regard. And frankly, like, even it's not going to be enough money where like no one's going to come after you for being like, oh, you didn't pay tax on it. Like, we'll handle everything. We want it to be like you get the money and like that's it. So yeah, that's not something that we want players to even be thinking about. It's like we want to make it as smooth and seamless as possible for them.
Okay.
Awesome. I mean, I think to answer the question maybe in a slightly different way is like, okay, like you win NAKO and we hand you $3,000 in cash. What are you going to do on your tax reporting at the end of the year? That's on you. Like, like that's it, like at the end of the day, like you can't really be responsible for other people and like what they choose to report on their taxes or what they don't choose to report on their taxes. It's event prize money. So it's not taxed any differently than if we were to hand you cash or pay you with a check. You're still going to have, I guess it's more equivalent to if we were to pay you a check, because in order to use that money, it has to hit your bank account. And then once it hits your bank account, it's up to you on how you want to
declare that,
what to do with that. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's like,
you're not going to get you're not going to get a W-9 request. You're not going to, nobody's going to file you as an independent contractor that earned more than $600.
Yeah, and I think inherently it might fall under like a gift like category of some kind. Like I don't know exactly, but I think Gabe's point of the check, it's like, are you going to deposit $3,000 in cash to your bank account? Or are you going to use it? That's up to you. But the prize money in USDC will hit your bank account just like a check would hit your bank account. You're not going to receive like a 1099, like form saying like this was claimed by this organization. So.
Although you might need to, I have to talk to my accountant, but I think that like the money that we designate from Sweets Kendamas is another reason that events suck. So like all the sponsorship money that we bring in, the registration money that we bring in, technically to Sweets Kendamas, which is taxable to Sweets Kendamas. So all the money we receive is taxable by the government. And then we have to take that money and pay it out to hotels and all the other people, and that's expenses, right? So like technically the money that Sweets Kendamas has to pay players and prizes, at the end of the year, my accountant comes and she's like, hey, we paid this person more than $600 in a calendar year. We need their W-9. So not to scare anybody, but for those of you that won big chunks of money from domestic sources and our domestic registered people, like you might get a W-9 if you win a large amount of money, which means that you have to claim it as something.
So, question unanswered or answered?
I think it's good. There's a lot of detail there. Yeah.
Just information there.
Yeah.
Taxes, fun
I
stuff.
mean, you brought up the taxes, dude. Like,
Hey, I'm trying to cover all bases here. I have two more. Last one's really easy, and this one's probably really easy too. Is there any risk of recipients losing the funds? Are there any potential errors of handling crypto with these rewards, like a misclick and then you just get them all deleted, or is there any protection against this?
So it depends on the process that we take. Each person can, kind of decide which way they want to go. If you want to receive it to like your personal, like what we call self-custody wallet, where you hold the money, there's always that risk. And that's where it comes in, like double checking, the wallet address you type. Like it's sort of a user thing that there's not really a good like interface to like double check and like that kind of thing. It's still like you do have to be paying attention and make sure you know what you're doing. But the alternative is that you can just receive it directly to PayPal or your exchange like Coinbase. And then from there, it's just like you received it in Venmo. The goal is to not have them need to send that money from their own wallet to the exchange. They can just go straight there and off ramp it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a simple way to answer your question is, do you want to keep this money in digital currency or do you want to move it to your bank account? And my guess is everyone is going to want to move it to their bank account as swiftly as possible. In which case, the process is going to be very simple for most people. They're going to have a digital wallet. They're going to give DJ a QR code. He's going to use that QR code to send them a balance of money. And then they are very quickly going to transfer that balance of money as soon as it becomes available to the bank account of their choice.
Yeah.
Done. It only becomes complicated if you want to keep money in digital currency and invest in the digital currency space and do all of that kind of crap, which is where people lose lots and lots and lots of money.
And at that point, it comes to be about education, just knowing what you're doing and being careful about what you're doing, knowing that, like every time you type in a wallet address, like you have to double check the whole thing, even though it's like, 26 characters that are random. Like you just need to be careful, and like, people don't realize like, oh, if I sent it to the wrong address, there's no getting it back. There's no entity to do a chargeback or like anything like that. Like once it's gone, it's gone. And so that's sort of a thing that you either learn from experience or you're just careful with from the beginning. But nobody makes that mistake twice.
I think that the other thing here is that like the weird thing that we're bringing to the table, that is, if anyone is actually interested in the Web3 space, if anyone is actually interested in any of this new stuff that's going on, DJ's literally this has been his full-time occupation for multiple years now. And he understands this space on a level that of no one that I've ever talked to before. And so if you have questions, like, he's also just very patient to Groms. In this space of like, any questions that you have and whatever, because I am a super Grom in this space. And I didn't think any of this was going to be possible, I would say like 6 months ago. But then like my confidence became further and further instilled with each one of these little baby steps that we took in order to get here. And each one was important. But like it's only through experience and a positive experience that you get to a better place of confidence. So really what we're trying to do at NAKO this year is just give people a positive experience so that they can be a little bit more open-minded.
And there's really no dumb questions. Like it's hard to understand. It takes a long time to like think about because it is so different. It's such a like different way of thinking about things. And that's why like I've tried very hard to take time to answer people's questions and answer them thoroughly, because that's the only way people are going to change how they understand about it, is if someone is willing to take that time, who actually knows and can like, kind of dispel some of that, misinformation that's like kind of, it's lingered because it might have been true at one point, but like, it's just because it's such a young technology and like that the space has evolved a lot in the past couple of years. And so it's just really important that someone, is there and available for people who have questions. So like I'm in the NAKO Discord. You can find me on Instagram if you want. Discord's probably better, just because I prefer to answer questions in public. So that way other people can read our conversations and learn from them. I'm always trying to provide links and resources. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask questions. It's really important.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We have this. Nice, Josh. I'm going to show this question in the chat. This is real. I think this is going to be a simple question. This is just for the people who really just don't know or have any clue what the announcement of this is. What does on-chain mean?
So on-chain is sort of just a simple way of saying that it's something on the blockchain. Just because like you could say 10K USDC, or you could say this or that, but like on-chain just means it's activity that happens on the blockchain, because if it's happening on-chain, it's recorded in the blockchain forever. And so there's like a permanent record of it. And so that's like Nouns is transparent because it's all on the Ethereum blockchain. Anyone can go in and see every flow of every penny that has come in or out the entire 3 years it's existed. And that money, like you can see it anytime of any day. It's a totally transparent public ledger. And so that's the whole idea, is that it's just things happening on the blockchain.
And the blockchain is literally like a block of information, a block of transactions that once it reaches its like maximum amount per block, it becomes a link in the chain that then the next block is, made with all the transactions and happens. And then that links into that chain. And that's the strand of transactions or trades or money being sent. So you can see anything, like anyone's wallet, you can see like what transactions have happened. It's all open, you can see it. But I don't, not to go too deep, but that's basically the blockchain.
In layman's terms, it's an advanced form of internet record keeping. Like being on chain just means that you're recorded in a new way of recording data, so that it's more essentially all blockchain. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to layman it down to the bottom, but like the way that I understand blockchain and all the technologies built on top of it is it's a different way of verifying data. It's a different way of recording data and verifying data, and verifying like transactions kind of without third party validation. Like the whole what Bitcoin started is essentially that like DJ and I don't have to know each other, and we can have a transaction that doesn't need to be validated by a bank or a third party.
Exactly. That sums up pretty well.
Boom. Okay. And then I'm just going to show this one on the screen. This came in, DJ.
Yeah, so I saw that. It's actually a good question.
Yep.
And I talked about it, I think, a little bit on the Sweet stream. So I'll touch on it briefly without going too in depth. But Nouns started around 3 years ago. And at the time, there was no legal framework for DAOs to like become a legal entity in the US. So best practice was to establish a Cayman Islands Foundation. So there's a Cayman Islands Foundation currently that represents the Nouns Foundation. And they're actually in the process right now of switching to a decentralized, unincorporated nonprofit association, which is a DUNA in Wyoming, which is a new version of the UNA framework that has been established for a while. But it's more adapted for flat organizations like Nouns that don't have a leader, don't have a chairman or a CEO or anything like that. And so the whole idea is that by becoming this legal entity in the US, it makes Nouns more it makes it so other people are more likely to want to work with Nouns, because people hear Cayman Islands Foundation and are kind of like, oh, that's weird. But like at the time, that was the best practices. And so now they're switching to this DUNA, and the goal is to eventually become a 501c3 nonprofit. But in order to get there, they have to become a legal entity in the US first.
We had a nonprofit auditor in the chat in our last stream, and they were like, I can't believe this isn't a 501c3 yet. And and DJ is like, very kind answer is like, the legal framework for what this is doesn't exist yet. Like what this is a group of people that decide to put money inside of a treasury in return for an NFT, which yes is a piece of digital art, but also is a digital key that allows you to submit proposals and vote on proposals. So in exchange for the money that you put into the treasury, you are handed a digital key, And that digital key allows you to propose ideas in that to be funded and vote on the other ideas to be funded. And there doesn't really exist an organization similar to this, because when you need people to make decisions. You need a board, you need a president, you need, like Josh and I can tell you from, the formation of the nonprofit that he runs, it's very complicated, and you have to jump through all like a bunch of people hoops. It requires people, but like what the technology is allowing a bunch of people to come together and interact in a very seamless way where it's very simple. Idea proposed, how many votes does it get? Money goes out. Idea proposed, how many votes does it get? Oh, not enough votes, shut down, no money goes out. And every day that someone decides to purchase one of these digital keys, they add to the treasury. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's a very interesting, I think Josh said it the best. It is a communal treasury that the community members have the keys to how the money is spent and what ideas are proposed and voted on.
And so, like I mentioned, the goal is to become a 501c3 nonprofit. And if that, happens, which obviously we want it to happen, that makes bids on auctions, tax deductible donations, and it makes Nouns essentially the most transparent nonprofit that's ever existed, because you see where every penny goes, you know exactly what's happening, and you know who is deciding what is going where. And now if you donate to a nonprofit, like, you have no idea what's being done with that money. 80% of that money could go to pay salaries, and you have no idea. Like, even if you think you're helping, like, you might not be helping as much as you think. And so it becomes this organization that is like 100% transparent, that's never existed before. And so it increases the level of confidence in people donating to them and feeling comfortable donating that large amounts of money are going to be efficiently used and not just squandered away to line people's pockets.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great information. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the question, Merrick. Guys, we have been gone over, but I just want to say thank you so much, Josh, Gabe, DJ. Really, really appreciate your guys' time. I think this is going to be really, really valuable clarity for the community coming into next weekend. And overall, from my end, I just can't wait to see the outcome of this weekend. I was already excited for NAKO, but I'm so much more stoked now than I was. And, with more clarity towards all of this, I'm really looking forward to this partnership between NOUNS and NAKO.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And as funny as it is, this is actually going to be my first kendama competition. I've always kind of just played kendama at home and don't really know anyone that plays kendama, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, nice.
It's going to set a high bar. It's a real high bar for you.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that crazy. It's meant to be, man.
It's destiny, man.
It's all meant to be, man. Like,
No,
DJ, DJ, you had never been to a blockchain conference either before we started talking and doing like this project of linking DJ's passion project of linking kendama and his other passion has now led him to go to his first conferences in that world in person, and now to his first kendama conference in person. And it's only through kind of having this work and this like having something to do and having these goals, and it's a beautiful thing, man. And thank you guys for having us on. Really appreciate it. And hopefully people have more questions, and hopefully we're able to answer more questions, because the last thing that we want to do is bring something to the kendama world that is shady in any way, anything that's like trying to take advantage of people in kendama in any way. I mean, that would be like the biggest shoot ourselves in the foot / ball drop that we could ever do. So like, hopefully people don't see Sweets and mindfulness through play as people that like would attach to something shady just for money. Like, I think what we are trying to do is do good stuff for kendama. And like, I think that when Josh and I started, we had a lot of questions, and through the process, those questions became answered, and we just were like, okay, like, this is just a pure positive. So we need to like see what we can do with it. And now hopefully
no dumb questions.
What we can do with it.
We're not bringing shadiness, but we are bringing shades. So make sure you stop by and get your free shades at the booth. All right, while supplies last, we're just giving them away. Okay, that's my plug.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean that is a valid. It's valid. Like when you guys show up at NAKO, I'm probably gonna have some shades on. The players that we bring, hopefully, are down to wear some shades. Like to be honest, like if the community is in any way thankful to these extra rewards that have been given to us from people outside of our community, like the way that we show that love is by repping like the NOGs. Essentially, like it's very simple. Like any form of these like these digital glasses that are their mark. What I like about this community treasury funded things is like anywhere in the world you go, if you see their mark on a school, if you see their mark on Dreamland Skate Park, if you see their mark in somewhere, if you see their mark at NAKO, other people who know that mark are like, oh, Nouns had something to do with making that possible. Nouns had something to do with making that better. This was a Nouns project. So that's what they're all about, is like when they do something, they just want to put their mark on it, because that way other people that know that mark or see that mark, that have had a good experience with that mark in some other place or some other experience or some other project, see it on this, and they're also like, whoa, that's a Nouns project, which also in a weird way makes it more lit in the world of Web3 and crypto, because Nouns has a really good relationship in this very, very, I will say, like in a place where there are a lot of like shady things and scams.
The Wild West.
I heard numerous people at the one blockchain event that I went to be like, yo, are you with Nouns? Nouns is like one of the very few examples of people doing it right. And if anything's going to give me confidence, that's going to give me confidence from people like inside that sphere that are like, yo, like these are some of the very few people that are doing like real, they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And so we're associating kendama with that on the other side of the coin too, which I think is just really positive.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see Ryoga in those glasses. Oh, hey. I didn't. Hey,
Who?
I don't know. Mahara.
Something about the receipts?
Whoa! Whoa! Something's happening.
Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys, whoever are watching this afterwards. Everything is going to be time stamped out. The description is going to be completely accurate for you guys to be, have as much context as possible, as much information as possible around this, and to find these points of what we talked about super easily. So once again, thank you, Gabe, Josh, and DJ. We'll let you know when this is out, and everybody listening, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
See you guys.